Now let us discuss about the other two relationships that Salesforce supports. A self relationship is a lookup field that points back to the same object, allowing you to create parent-child hierarchies within a single object. Suppose you have an object called position. You want to model a parent position like a senior role and its sub position like a junior role reporting to it. You can create a lookup field on the position object pointing to itself and use it to reference another position object. This creates an internal hierarchy among job openings, which can help visualize role structures or approval process flows. Only lookup relationship can be used to create self relationships. We cannot use master detail. These are usually used for creating category, subcategory, managerial, or reporting relationship within the same object. A hierarchical relationship is a special type of lookup that is only allowed on the user object, and it links a user to another user. In a recruitment workflow, the recruiter might report to recruiting manager. You can create a field reports to on the user object, which uses a hierarchical relationship to connect the user to their manager. This is commonly used for approval processes, manager level access, and team-based visibility. Self and hierarchical relationships extend modeling flexibility. Self lookup lets a record reference another record in the same object, while hierarchical relationship on the user object enables manager subordinate logic critical in recruiting workflows. In this section, we will explore predefined relationships that Salesforce automatically includes on every object. Salesforce automatically adds certain relationship fields to all standard and custom objects. These are used for ownership, auditing, and sharing control. When you go to the position object, the owner field, the created by field, and last modified by field are automatically added when an object is created. The owner is a lookup to user or a queue indicating who owns the record. It drives record level security. Example, what records a user can see or edit. It is visible on the UI as owner and a required field. Created by is a lookup to again a user which tracks who has created the record. This is a system generated audit field, not editable via UI or API. Last modified by is also a lookup to user which tracks who has last modified the record. This is also used for auditing and tracking purposes. These three fields cannot be removed or customized. They are essential for auditing, automation, and data security. You can reference them in formulas and reports, but not directly modify them. Let us now try to understand what a formula field is. A formula field is a read-only field that automatically calculates a value based on other fields or functions. The value is evaluated in real time whenever the record is accessed or saved. Formula fields enforce business logic without manual data entry, Apex code, or workflow automation. The key properties of formula fields include a return type where you are going to specify a data type the formula will return. It could be either a number, currency, percentage, text, checkbox, date, time, or time. Then within the formula editor, you can use an insert field section to reference the fields on the same object and up to 5 levels of parent object via lookup or master detail. You can use operators like arithmetic operators, comparison operators, logical operators, and text operators. You can also use the Salesforce provided built-in functions, which are grouped under text functions, date functions, math functions, and logical functions. You can use the built-in syntax checker for verifying if the formula is correct. And you can also set the blank field behavior where you are going to define whether a blank reference field should be treated as a blank or a zero. Now let us see a demonstration on how to create a formula field and go through all these three properties that we discussed now. So for this demonstration, I'm going to position object, clicking on a new button. And the use case that I have here is I want to display from how long the position record was open. So if you remember the other day, we created a field called open date, which indicates when the position came to the market. Now using this open date, I want to actually calculate the number of days this position was open. So assume that this open date was 7 days back. If I go to the record now, the days open should display me 7 as a value because this position was open 7 days back. So instead of creating a new field and maintaining or managing it, I want Salesforce to automatically calculate from an existing field. So for that reason, I'm creating a new field, but this time I will select the field type as formula. The first step here is to argue the field metadata. So I'm calling this field as days open. Since number of days is typically a number type, that's why I'm selecting the return type as number. And if you observe here, the only return types that Salesforce supports are checkbox, currency, date, time, number, percent, text, and time, because all these can be calculated. Whereas email, phone, URL, relationship field, fields, they cannot be derived from existing fields. So number of days open is typically a integer. That's why I'm making decimal places as 0 and clicking on next. It will show me an option to select a simple formula or an advanced formula. I'm going to advanced formula. Once you go to advanced formula, the formula editor gives you lots of options. The first option it gives is insert field option, using which you can select fields from the same record or fields from the parent record, and you can go up to 5 levels of parent. So for days open, I want to refer the open date field. So I'll go and select the open date field, click on insert. So if I want to get how many days this position was open, I have to deduct open date from today. So for getting today's value, there is a function which is of type date and time called today. So every function in the function editor gives you a syntax and it tells you what it returns. It also has a help link which will redirect you to the complete details on how to use this function. So today is going to return the current date. I'm just selecting today, click on insert function. So wherever your cursor is, there it will be inserted. From today, I am deducting open date. So today minus open date will give me the number of days the position was open. Assume that if open date is not filled, then today minus open date can give you values which are not consistent. So for that reason, I will check if open date is available, then only calculate this. I can use a logical function which is called if. If open date is available, then only I want to do this calculation. So if you see the if syntax, the first parameter of your if function is the logical test that you want to do, and value is true, that should be placed in second parameter. Third parameter points to value if false. So I'll just update this accordingly. So I'm checking here if I'll click or double click on this, so it will be displayed here. So there is a is blank function which I can use to check if it is blank or not blank. So again, a logical function. So I'm selecting is blank within the if condition. So is blank takes an expression, checks if that expression is true or false. So for this expression, I'm giving open date as a value. I want to say if it is not blank. So for not, I have one more condition called not of is blank. If it is not blank, I'm doing the calculation as today minus open date. If it is blank, I want to do based on the created date, because I have a created date field which will tell me when the record was created. Instead of today, I will use the created date, which is a field. So I'll use insert field. I'll say created date. If you see, created date is a date time field. So when I insert created date minus, I say today, I will get an exception because today returns date. Created date is a date time. You cannot detect date from date time. So both data types should be same. So for that reason, instead of using today, I will use now. I'll say created date minus now. So that will also give me date time minus date time. I will get a number. So once I have written the condition, I can check the syntax using check syntax button. Since there are no errors, it is giving me no syntax errors. It also gives the compiled size. We'll discuss about this in a minute. You can give description to your field. You can give some help text. And if you have a blank field handling, assume that this returns a blank. What should you do? If it is blank, since this is a number type, I will treat blank as 0. If it was a return type was text, I can use treat blanks as blanks. Then I'll click on next, make it visible, make it available on the layout, and click on save. Now let us see how this field behaves. So for that, I'm logging out of my org and logging back in. I'll go to positions, go to technical architect position. So I'm giving open date as, say for example, 4th, and clicking on save. So from 4th to today, we have 6 days. That's why the days open is automatically updated. So when date changes, the number of days open will also be automatically calculated and the change will appear accordingly. So now let us see one more example. So I'll go back to position object. So if you remember, I created a field called hiring manager, which is a parent for this position object. Now I want to get hiring manager's email ID. So instead of creating a separate field and storing an email ID, I can do a calculation because I already have the user record. I'll click on new field. I'll click on formula, go to next. I want to call it as hiring manager email. So email ID is to be text. So I'm return type, I'm selecting it as text, clicking on next. Now I want to derive it from hiring manager. So hiring manager is a parent. So usually only the parent record ID is available in the position object. But if you want to derive other fields from the parent object, you can use formula field. So I'm going to insert field from position. So you'll find here two options: hiring manager without a greater than symbol, hiring manager with a greater than symbol. If you select hiring manager, you will get the record ID of the hiring manager, which will be the key prefix for user is 005. 005, you'll get a 005 ID. But I want to get the email ID. For that, I have to go to the parent object. So I'm selecting parent object. Once you select parent object, all the fields from the user object will be displayed. In a formula field, you can go up to 5 levels of parent. So from hiring manager, I can go to contact. From contact, I can go to account. From account, I can go to the created by. So like this, you can go up to 5 levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You cannot go beyond 5 levels. Though the UI shows it, is not going to work. It will only allow up to 5 levels of parent. So in our case, I want to go to hiring manager and I want to get email. So I'll go to email field on that, click on insert. So this will get me the hiring manager's email ID. And if you observe, the syntax will say underscore underscore or, typically indicating a relationship field. This is the relationship field using which I'm going to the parent record. So once you are satisfied, you can check the syntax. If there is no error, you can say treat blanks as blanks, because 0 doesn't make any sense because it always returns a text. So I'm saying treat blanks as blanks, click on next and save. Now if you go back and refresh, so it did not show up. Let me log out and log back in. So when I go to the position record now, I should see if hiring manager is stamped, you will get the hiring manager's value. So currently there is no hiring manager. That's why email is empty. For example, if I go here and select an hiring manager, click on save. So this automatically gets me the email ID of hiring manager. So in this example, I did a parent lookup. I got the value from a parent record. You can go up to 5 levels of parent. Now let us talk about some limitations and considerations when using formula fields. So as I told you, formula fields are always read only. So you cannot edit. There is no edit icon here. Or when you go to edit screen, you don't get any formula fields displayed here because they are calculated fields. So they are displayed, but you cannot edit them. So whenever there is a change in the referenced field, then automatically this will also be updated. For example, if my open date changes, my days open will change. If my hiring manager changes, my hiring manager email will also change. So there is no way you can get data from a child record using formula fields. You can only go to parent and you can go to up to 5 levels of parent, but you cannot access the child record and get data from a child record. The maximum compiled size of the formula should be 5,000 characters. If you remember, when I derived a particular formula here and clicked on syntax, it actually told me how many characters are available. Compiled size is 13 characters. So the compiled size of your formula should never cross 5,000 characters. If your formula exceeds 5,000 characters compiled size, it is going to give a compilation error and it will not allow you to save the formula. So it's not number of characters. Remember, it is a compiled formula character size. So it could be less than 5,000 overall characters. So in order to not hit this limit, always use reusable logic and avoid deeply nested if conditions. So there is one very important aspect of formula, which is called return type restriction. So formula fields cannot return lookup master detail because relationships cannot be derived. It cannot return email data type because emails also cannot be derived. It cannot return geolocation, address, or file type of complex data types. The only allowed return values are number, currency and percent, text, date, time, and checkbox, because all of these can be derived. Formula fields are recalculated every time the record is viewed or queried. So whenever you go to the UI, formula is recalculated. So assume using very complex formulas, it may take a lot of time to calculate. That may result in performance impact on your page load. Within a formula, you can reference up to 10 unique relationships. In one single formula, you can have 10 relationship related entities. You cannot go beyond that. Formula fields do not trigger any automation like workflow rules, process builders, flows, or triggers. Now let us discuss Rollup summary fields. A Rollup summary field allows you to aggregate values from related child records onto a parent record, but only when the child relationship is master detail relationship. This is useful for tracking totals, counts, min, max values from child objects. It only supports 4 different types of aggregate functions. Count for counting the number of related child records. Sum for adding numeric field values across child records. Min for getting a minimum or earliest value. Max for getting the latest or highest value. So in order to create a rollup summary field, you will go to the parent object, which has a master detail relationship with the child object. And on the parent object, you choose the rollup summary field. For example, let us go to the position object. So as you remember, we created a job application object which has a master detail relationship with position object, making position object a parent to job application. Now, when you go to the position object, you have an option to create a roll-up summary field on job application object. So for that reason, I'm creating a click on new button and I can see roll-up summary. I can click on next. So it will ask you the metadata for your field. So I want to call this as job application count. The next screen gives you an option to do some aggregation. It also gives you the available summarized objects. So it will give you a list of all the objects which have a master detail relationship with the position object. So we know that job application has a master detail relationship with position. So job application shows up here. Now here I want to count the number of job applications. I'm selecting the count rollup type. So as I told you, there are 4 different aggregate functions. You can do all records or you can also do criteria based records. So I assume that I want to only display the job applications which are active, count only the active job applications. Then I can do a criteria based rule. But here I want to do all job applications for this position. So I'm selecting all records should be included, clicking on next. It will ask you where should this be visible. I want to make it visible to everyone. I want to put it on the position layout and I'm clicking on save. Now let me go back to the org, log out and log back in. So on the layout, on the position layout, you should see one more additional field called as count of job applications, like job application count. I know that technical architect position was applied by 2 different applicants. So when I go to the details section, I should see job application count, which is nothing but 2. So it will count the number of job applications which are related to this parent position object. Now let us discuss about some characteristics of rollup summary fields. Rollup summary fields are recomputed whenever a child record is added, edited, or deleted. So if a new job application is added, or if a new applicant applies for this technical architect position, a new job application will be created that will automatically update the job application count. So this value is also read-only, which cannot be manually edited because this is a calculated value. Rollup summary field is only available in the parent object, which has a master detail relationship with a child object. And it is only available on the parent object. So you can create up to 25 rollup summary fields per object. Additional rollups require Apex declarative rollups. Like there are some tools available like DLRS or flow workarounds. You cannot perform rollups on the following child field types. Like you cannot use long text area, rich text area, multi-select pick lists, formula fields with cross object references. All these cannot be referenced in a rollup summary field. Rollups update in real time. So if a child data set is large and you update the child records frequently, performance could be impacted. Be cautious using them in a bulk data processing scenario. Assume that I am loading job applications from a third-party system. If I load, say, 1,000,000 records, and assume that out of those 1,000,000, 100,000 belong to the same position record, so this will be updated multiple number of times. So it will call all the automation on this object and it could lead to performance issues. So let us see the differences between formula field and rollup summary. Formula field can be declared on any object and it can refer to 5 levels of parent object. Rollup summary field will always reside on the parent object where a child has a master detail relationship with parent. Formula and rollup summary field are read-only. Formula field will not trigger any automation, but rollup summary field will trigger an automation on the parent object when there is a child change or when a child is added, deleted, or modified. The data source for a formula field is the same object or parent object. The data source for rollup summary field is always aggregated child records. So for formula field, you have a limit of 5,000 characters of compiled size, and you can only have 10 cross-object references in one single formula. You can have 25 roll-up summary fields on an object. In today's session, we explored advanced aspects of Salesforce data modeling, beginning with the date time field, where we demonstrated how Salesforce stores values in GMT and dynamically converts them to each user's time zone. We then configured a multi-select pick list, understanding how selections are stored as semicolon separated strings and with defined limits on character length and value count. We revisited relationship fields, starting with a lookup relationship used for loosely coupled connections where child records can exist independently. This was contrasted with the master detail relationship where the child records existence, ownership, and security model are tightly bound to the parent. We extended this to many relationship using a junction object, demonstrating how to use two master detail relationship fields to simulate complex mappings. We also covered system-defined fields such as owner, created by, last modified by, that support record-level auditing and sharing. Building further, we introduced self-relationships to model intra-object hierarchies and hierarchical relationships which are exclusive to the user object and enable manager-subordinate structure across workflows. Beyond these, we introduced 6 advanced concepts like master detail limitations, self versus hierarchical relationships, formula fields showing how to build dynamic read-only fields using functions, different kinds of functions, roll-up summary fields enabling aggregations of child data and differences between formula and roll-up summary fields, and platform level limits across all these field types. We conducted with guidance on where each of these relationships and field types can be effectively applied in real-world business models.